sassy, saucy HBICs. How are you on this lovely morning, afternoon, or evening? How are you all? I hope you're all doing fabulous. I hope you're all choosing to be the versions of yourself that get exactly what you want. I hope that's what you're doing. In today's video, I'm going to share with you some things you might experience as, number one, as you are becoming your new self. Things you might experience in literal reality and how to deal with them. Or again, what to expect as you are changing, as your world is changing. If you would like to work with me or connect with me in any way, shape, or form, all of that information is in the drop box below, including coaching, emergency coaching, my other channel, Kimberly's Other Life, where to find me on TikTok, Instagram, Clapper, and my 3 channel memberships. If you want to have an amazing weekly zhuzh times 3, I encourage you to join the VIP, the Advanced Manifestors group. That is the group that gives you access to all 3 channel memberships. So we have the advanced group, the VIP group, which is where we deep dive all manifestation books, content, all different perspectives, so that everyone with their differing viewpoints will be able to gain some kind of knowledge. It's all beneficial. But what I mean by that is we're going to go from everywhere from Neville Goddard over to reality transurfing with Vadim Zealand, Napoleon Hill, and on and on and on. And, not everybody views reality exactly the same, meaning their perception of and what they believe is happening out in the universe. And that's okay. You can still be a master manifester, even if you don't agree with every single thing I say or anybody else says. That's why we're going all over the place and taking in as much knowledge as possible to expand our awareness. And the way I see it, be less afraid or moved in reality so that we can get what we want. If that interests you in any way, shape, or form, I suggest you join. It's a really good group. Again, gives you access to the other groups like the hot seat coaching, where it is how it sounds. You can get into the hot seat and ask me anything you want manifestation related. And chances are there's going to be someone who gets into that hot seat, even if you don't, that will ask a question that is just like something you were about to ask or pertains to your circumstances. So it's a really good group, as well as the full-on zhuzh train group, which is the exclusive lives. That's the group for the weekly zhuzh. All we share in that group are success stories and tips and tricks. And the success stories are always off the chain. I'm just saying, you're missing a good party. It's like literally hanging out in my living room. Bring a beverage if you'd like every week, and it's always good. And it really does have the atmosphere feeling of like you're hanging out with your besties, sharing stories, talking about your life, talking about manifestation. It is always a good time. Now, if you're new here and you can handle all this sass and you're as obsessed with manifestation and getting what you want like I am, then I encourage you to subscribe and come back and see me. Now let's get talking. So this is an inspired video from a coaching session I had today, and my beautiful HBIC gave me an idea of talking about some things that may occur, what you might experience as you are becoming your new self, when you really are feeling like you are becoming that new version of yourself or entering that new reality. And one of them is the obvious, the occasional random doubtful thought. What I've heard myself and what this lovely girl shared is it's a kind of a common doubtful thought, and that is, you're not doing this right. You're doing this wrong. Like second guessing you and your manifestation game. Maybe even comparing yourself to someone else doubts about how you're doing this might come up. Something that I myself have experienced and other people that I've coached have experienced along the journey as they are becoming a new version of themselves, as they are stepping into the reality where they get their manifestation. What I have experienced along my own journey is, especially in the moments where I really felt like I was focused and doing everything right, doing my manifestation game. And it's not that I wasn't. It's not that I wasn't. But random circumstances would happen every once in a while. So I'm certainly not trying to dump a belief on you that if you are putting the focus on being a particular version of yourself, that, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, now you're going to have random terrible things happen. I'm not telling you that. It's just something I have personally experienced. People I've coached have experienced it. Hence why it came up in a coaching call today. This is what this video is inspired by. One of our beautiful HBICs and I were talking, and she made this suggestion, and because she's experienced it as well. So I'm like, you know what? You are like the, millionth person to say something like this, that she's right. It needs a video. And that is, you might experience random circumstances. Now, again, I am not trying to frighten you in any way, shape, or form, or telling you that you have to expect terrible things to happen, because not every circumstance is going to be viewable by you as terrible. Just hear me out. Something I noticed as I was becoming my new self, as I was really believing and accepting that I was my new self, a few random circumstances popped up. And what ended up happening was the way I responded to the circumstances was different. However, that's what I noticed after the fact. That, wow, that is something that I know for a fact a year ago, a month ago, I would have responded so differently. And I didn't. I didn't react the way my old self would, or something along those lines, which is exactly what this person experienced. So we tend to hear in this community mostly about the circumstances that we're trying to get rid of, right? When you're manifesting something, like, so for the example of manifesting a specific person, when, you've, I don't know, been left, been dumped, and your person is saying they don't want to be in a relationship with you, we tend to find manifestation during a heartbreak. Not always, but a lot of people do. And so that's the circumstance you're trying to change, per se. So we're so used to thinking of circumstances as something that happens that I'm now trying to fix. Let me do this manifestation thing, right? But as you start your journey, and it is a journey, and I don't mean that as in it's taken a long time to get your manifestation. I'm just saying that once you get your manifestation, you're going to want other things. So this is how we do life. And quite frankly, this is how we've actually been doing life. We just weren't aware of it, right? It was unconscious. But now that you're consciously aware, as you start working on yourself, whatever that means to you, meaning if you're an affirmer, a visualizer, a scripter, an embodier, a decision maker, as in, I am deciding that I am my new self. That is who I am. That's who I'm thinking about, that new version of myself as I embody it, what it would feel like to be that new self. So again, if that's something you've already started and you're practicing, number one, you're going to notice that you are going to start feeling different, and how you handle reality will change. How you react to things will change. So when or if random, out of nowhere circumstances happen, they're not always detrimental. It's not at all the message of this video, but it pays to be aware. To be aware, not necessarily hypervigilant, but aware. As in, I wasn't being aware at the moment the circumstance happened. thankfully, I didn't start questioning, why is this here? Because I do think that can lead to a downfall when we are constantly nitpicking and criticizing and overanalyzing circumstances instead of putting the focus on what you want, who you want to be. We can fall into that trap of trying to figure out every circumstance and why it's here. If you're just looking at 3D reality, at life, at circumstances as they're here for a reason, whether I understand that reason or not, right? They're not just random circumstances, but they're here for a reason. Even if that reason is to show me that I am not my new self, even if that is the reason, they're here. But they will lead to my outcome, even if I don't understand that in this moment. So instead of looking at circumstances when they pop up as something's wrong, or that you've done something wrong, or that maybe you're not doing your manifestation game right, maybe you're not doing a perfect technique, maybe there's, right, there's something wrong with the technique you're using. No, maybe it's just here as the reflection of your old self, but you validate your new self by responding to it differently. And maybe you, just like what I experienced, maybe you're not even aware that you're responding differently until like a day later or an hour later, you realize, holy crap, I didn't even cry, or I didn't get angry. I didn't respond like I would have in the past. Oh my gosh, I am new self. Look at that validation. It's, to me, very, very helpful to be thinking of yourself as being the new self, or being in the new reality. That will never fail you. That will only benefit you to have that perception of reality. Now, if circumstances do randomly happen, and it, again, I really want you to know that it might just feel very random to you, especially if you've been on your A game. And all I mean by that is, your awareness is on the reality you prefer. If a random circumstance happens, don't start panicking and labeling it as something's wrong here, right? Naturally, I believe it is normal that we might get a fearful, doubtful thought as a response to the circumstance, especially if that was a habit of your old self. You see, as you move along and expand your awareness, you're going to see that we are always evolving, expanding, deepening our understanding, the knowledge, receiving downloads of how this all works, and most importantly, how it works for you specifically. But what you will probably come to notice is all of this really was down to just you making a decision and standing in it. And it's a feeling of absolute conviction in that decision. Now, that's not to say that you may never fall out of that particular state or version of yourself, but it will be relatively easy for you to return to it as you are shifting. But my point in saying that is you're going to come to the place where you realize anything you've ever wanted has really always been at your fingertips, whether you could view reality that way or not. As you start putting the focus on being this new version of yourself, doing your manifestation techniques to be the new self. If you're new to my channel, whenever you hear me say being new self, all I'm referring to is the you who has their manifestation. You got what you wanted, that future version of you. It's not really a future version of you, but we will call it that to make it easier. When you start putting that focus on being that self, definitely reality is going to change. It will reflect who you are, right? That's how this works. It's a reflection of your beliefs, your assumptions. Your manifestation has been here all along because creation is finished. God has created everything already. Manifestation really is breaking habits of being one single version of yourself and becoming aware of the self you've always wanted to be. That self already exists. But that's really what manifestation is just becoming aware of what is already created. So as that's moving, right? The reality's moving, the old reality's leaving. Because creation is finished. That's why your manifestation is already here. It's already yours. That's what that means. So the more you are putting the focus on being that new version of yourself, you can logically think of it as you are pulling the manifestation closer to you. So it's a clearer and clearer view of it. So when you're a version of yourself that is doubting, not believing, just thinks life sucks, the image is blurred. And you can't see that it was always there, that manifestation. But as you start to change your thinking, change what you focus on, out here gets clearer and clearer, or closer and closer. So along the way, you might experience a random shit occurrence here and there, or something that your old self would have labeled as not fun or uncomfortable. But you're going to notice you're responding to things differently. And when that happens, take your credit for it. That is your evidence, your validation that you are really a new version of yourself. I think a lot of us come to this community, very starry-eyed, which is great. It's great to be positive and excited. But when things don't magically change, or don't look like they're magically changing, because things are changing, we get frustrated and disappointed or let down. And we tend to go back to the old thinking of doubting. Or when you've been applying all the things you've learned about manifestation, and then a random circumstance pops up here. This is another reason why I said in a video the other day that see circumstances as tests in how you respond to them. They're not really the universe testing you, or God testing you, or anybody else fucking testing you. They're not tests. But your perception of them, your outlook on it will change, as in, if you're viewing it as a test and you're choosing to pass it, and by pass it, I just mean choosing to respond differently, not like your old self would. That is also a reality shift, a choosing a new version of yourself. This works. I've said it before, this works. It's about you making a decision to let it work. How to do that? Focus on what you want, or who you want to be. Put your focus there. Imagine being that version of yourself. Think about what your life would look like as that new self. Reality will reflect. Imagination is not pretend. Imagining things is not fantasy. It's reality creation, or awareness. The more you're focused there, and the less out here on the things you don't want, the quicker things will change. My tip on how to deal with reality as you're manifesting is be aware. Be aware. Stay aware. In an old video, I said, red alert, bitch. Red alert. The minute your body, your navigational system is letting you know you don't feel good, where is your awareness at that moment? What are you thinking? It's probably something shitty, something too logical, too literal, or unfavorable. That's your opportunity to redirect. It's just a change in focus. It's really all it is. And one of the other things, let me give you a little bonus tip. One of the things that I also hear from the people who have successfully manifested, I've heard it over and over again, is you were right. It was just a decision. I just made a decision and I had conviction. It was never that I needed to keep saying something to myself. And again, that's not me telling you the repetition is a bad thing. Repetition's our friend. I just mean that it comes into their awareness that it really was just a decision all along. So, on that note, I'll see you tomorrow.